Hello, my friend. My name is Michael Bora. So today I'm going to present about the presentation about type of contract of hospitality law. So first, I'm going to show you my slides that I made, and I am going to present that slide in front of you. And at last, I am going to
Our
ask you
volume
a
low.
few questions to both of you, and you have to give me the answer of that questions. So is it feasible? Uh, is it visible?
Yes, Professor.
Yes,
Okay, so first we have to know about what contract is. So I am going to give you brief introduction about the contract. So a contract is a legally binding agreement between two or more parties that set out the term and obligation each party must follow. Like for a contract to be valid, it
Our
typically
volume
must
low.
include certain elements like offer, acceptance, consideration, mutual intent, capacity, legality. So, like any of these elements are missing, the contract may not be enforceable in a court of law. So, contract can be written, verbal, or implied by conduct through written. Contracts are generally easier to enforce. So, I am going to explain about the type of contract and where they are used, their examples, so everything. So, let's go to the first slide. So, the first one is express contract. So, an express contract is clear agreement where everything is stated upfront, either in written or spoken. Like for example, if we sign up for a gym membership that costs like $20 per month, okay. So we know exactly what we are getting and what we will pay. So this type of contract is common in membership, service, rentals, or retail, and detail are spelled out. Okay. So another one is implied contract. So an implied contract happens through action, not whole. Like imagine like going to a cafe and ordering coffee. Okay. So like by ordering it's like implied we will pay when it's served. So implied contract are common in every services like eating on restaurant or using public transportation. So another one is unilateral contract. So unilateral contract is when one person makes a promise and the other can accept by performing an action. So for example, like if there a poster offering a $50 reward for finding a lost paper. So like we will only get payment, like we will only get paid if we find and return that the lost pay. So we will see this in rewards, contests, or special offer where only one side promise something. So another one is bilateral contract. So in bilateral contract, both parties or like both people make promise to each other. Like for example, uh, we might hire a cleaner, and like we agree to pay like $500, like and while they agree to clean our house like on a specific day. Okay, so this type of contract is common in like mass service sales or for sales. Okay, so another one is void contract. So a void contract is a contract that's invalid or unenforceable from the beginning. Like for example, if someone tries to sell a stolen item, this contract would be void because it involves something illegal. Because like that stolen item is illegal, right? So that's why this type of contract is used. Uh, used like when something is illegal. So void contract prevent unfair or illegal agreements from being forced. So another one is voidable contract. So a voidable contract is valid but can be cancelled by one side if they choose to. For example, like if a minor buys something, okay, like if a minor buys a bike, okay, so like they have the right to return it and cancel the contract. Like voidable contracts protect people, especially minors, okay, so from being held to agreement that might not fully understand. And another one is executed contract. So an executed contract is one that fully completed. Both sides have done what they promised. For instance, if you buy a concert ticket online or immediately receive the ticket, the transaction is complete and like the contract is executed. Because like we buy a ticket like and we immediately got that ticket and transaction is completed, right? So that's why this contract is executed. So this is common in simple one time process, okay. So another one is executory contract. So an executory contract is ongoing. One or both sides still have thing to do. Like for example, let's take an example of magazine. So if we take a magazine subscription where like we pay upfront, but like they deliver each issue monthly, right? So executory contracts are used in membership subscriptions or installment plans. So another one is unenforceable contract. So an unenforceable contract is one that can't be enforced legally. For instance, a verbal agreement to sell a car might not be enforceable in court because a written agreement is like typically required, right? So this type of contract often lacks something essential like being in writing, so which make them unenforceable. So another one is option contract. So an option contract gives someone that right to buy or sell something later. For example, like paying a landlord a fee to reserve an apartment for the next month. Because like we already pay, we have the paying option like for the next month. So that's why it gives the option to decide without pressure. Okay. So this type of contract is common in real estate and investment. Another one is voluntary contract. A voluntary contract depend on an uncertain event. Example is like let's take an example of car insurance. Okay, like we have to pay a premium, but we only get compensated if we get in an accident. So voluntary contract are common in insurance, like where we get protection based on the chance of something happening. So another one is fixed price contract. So a fixed price contract has a set price for a service, regardless of actual cost. Like for example, like hiring someone to paint your house for, like we hire someone to paint our house for $1,000. Okay, like no matter how long it takes or how much the paint is used by him, but we only need to pay only $1,000. So this type of contract is common for job with a set price like repair or design work. So another one is cost reimbursement contract. So a cost reimbursement contract covers actual expenses plus an extra fee. For example, like in some research project, like let's take a research project which given by our university, and like it may cover all costs while paying like the researcher an additional fee for their work. So this type of contract is common in research or government project with uncertain cost. So another one is times and material contract. So time and materials contracts are based on hard work and material use. Like for let's take an example of a plumber. Like if we hire a plumber would charge by her clause and any materials he used. So our final cost will depend on time and materials he used. So this is common in repair work, consulting, project, or mm, like projects where costs are fixed. Okay, so the last one is partnership agreement. So a partnership agreement is used in business partnership to define role, profit sharing, and responsibility. Like for example, like if me and my friend open a cafe together and agree to split profit, and we also agree to do the work together equally, and so we would use a partnership agreement for. So this type of contract is important in business and joint ventures. So that's like contract help define the term of our everyday transaction, from term of like everyday everyday transaction, like as I mentioned, from the gym membership to like house repair. So contract protect both sides and provide clear agreements. So that's why the contract is necessary. So here is the reference. I used to gather all this information, all this type of contract. So thank you for listening, guys. Now, if you have any questions, you can ask me. I will happy to answer your questions. Any of the questions, feel free to ask.
No, sir.
Okay, so next I am going to ask you few questions, and like you have to answer all the questions that I have asked. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Now I am going to ask you a few questions, guys. So you need to give the answer of that questions. So first I'm going to ask Pritpal. Then after I will come with Sufal. So the first question goes to Pritpal. So can you think of a situation where you enter into a bilateral contract, like both parties made promises, and like how would your experience have been different if it had been a unilateral contract instead?
Yes, the one time when I landed in Canada, I'm looking for a apartment. That time I faced that kind of situation. Actually, I'm looking for an apartment. I'm looking for a 2-bedroom apartment for my cousins, and I'm also living with my husband. So that's reason. When I signed a contract to rent an apartment, and that time I promised to pay rent every month, and the landlord promised to provide the apartment in a good condition, because I think if we can get a house in a good condition, that's reason we don't feel any kind of homesickness in the apartment, or it makes us relax mind. And both of us, me and my landlord, both make our promises. So that's reason I think that is a bilateral contract. But suddenly it comes a unilateral contract, because like in a unilateral contract, would be if I said to someone, I will give you $1,000 if you find and return return their apartment, and they don't have to promise to find an apartment for me, and they return the payback for me. Like we can give a deposit when we take any basement home or private room. Before that we have to deposit some money to the landlord. If that is a unilateral contract for me, because if the landlord said they don't give me my deposit back, because they don't made any kind of a promise, because that is only a one person who make a contract with me, to rather than I promise him my landlord to take that money back. So that is a situation. I think that is a one situation for me that contain a both contracts. Like the one is a bilateral, because I pay a rent monthly, I promise him, and the second one is a unilateral, because they don't give me my deposit back if I didn't warn you to I left the apartment. Thank you.
Okay, so now, Supal, I'm going to ask you. So, can you describe a time when you were part of an executed contract, like all obligation fulfilled? Okay. So, and versus an executory contract, like where were still pending. So, like, how did the level of obligation affect your perception of the contract?
Yes, so if I talk about firstly executed, so I signed a lease for my apartment after I moved in, paid rent every month. Both slide fulfilled.
You are muted.
I felt relieved because everything was finished. And if I talk about the executive contract, when I got a car loan, so I signed the contract, but I still had to make monthly payment for a finished until I paid off the loan. It felt like a long commitment because I still had to do something. So this was the contract.
Okay, well, so again, I'm going back to Pritpal. So, another question, like, have you ever agreed to something without formally discussing the terms, but both parties understood the expectations, like an implied contract? Okay, so how does this compare to an experience where everything was explicitly stated, like an express contract? Okay.
Yeah, I faced that kind of two situations. Firstly, I would like to talk about the implied contract. When I think that is a situation of implied contract. That is, I remember the last some few months ago, I go to a hair salon and ask for a haircut because I want my hairs like feather. I want my hairs in a feather cut and have a red wine color on it. And it's understood that what color I want and what kind of haircut that suits on me, so that I will pay for that service. I promise them. And even though we didn't discuss the price in detail beforehand, we didn't discuss about the price. So I think this is implied contract because both sides know but they expected from each other without needing to say it. Because I think when we go to any salon, they automatically suggest or give some good suggestion for according to our face, what kind of haircut looks on us, and it looks pretty on us or not. And then if I can talk about the express contract situation, that is happen when the last month my husband buy a car. They buy a car on my credit score because it is a good. On that time I signed a car loan agreement because I have also eligible for driving and I have also my driving lessons. So everything was clearly written out, the loan amount, the interest rate and payment schedule on their terms and conditions on that contract. So I think that is an express contract because all the terms were expectedly stated in the writing form rather than a verbally or any spoken form. Thank you.
Okay, again back to Supal. Supal, like, have you ever been in a situation where you had the option to void a contract? Like, what factor made you decide whether to enforce or void the agreement?
Yes, one time I signed up for a gym membership that automatically renew after a year. I could cancel it, but I didn't because I thought I might start going to the gym again. If I didn't want to go, I would have cancelled it. I stayed with it because I had already paid for the part of next year. So this was the situation when I have been for sign.
So is my camera off?
Now your camera is fine, Professor.
Okay. So again to Pritpal. So last question for her. Okay, Pritpal, share an example of contract you signed that turned out to be valid and enforceable. So can you also think of a situation like where an agreement you entered into might have been void from the start?
Yeah, definitely, Professor. Actually, I signed a lot of valid and enforceable contract because I love the online platform, and that's reason I always like to subscribe the new apps like Disney Hotstar, Netflix, and so on. So, according to me, a valid and enforceable contract could be when I signed up for an online subscription services. I agree to pay monthly, and the company agreed to provide access to their content to me. Both of us followed through, so the contract is valid because what I want from these online platforms they give me. So I think that is a valid contract for me because there is nothing that I can neglect or that I can complain about it. And if I can talk about the situation when I signed out a void contract or find it is a void contract, that is a situation that I made an agreement with someone who was intoxicated and unable to understand the terms. Since they couldn't fully consent, and the contract would be void from the start. So that kind of situation when I think that kind of situation make me awfully also, because someone don't know about the contract terms and condition, but even then they force me to sign that type of contract. So I think that is a void contract for me. And the best example for me is our college. I don't want to get a pathway program, but I get. So this is all my answer for that question.
Okay, Pritpal. So now again back to Sukhpal. So this is also last questions for you, Sukhpal. So have you ever signed a contract where you had title to no ability negotiable the terms like a cell phone plan or online term and conditions? Like how did you feel about not having any negotiation power?
Yeah, once I signed a cell phone plan contract. The company gave me no choice, but I accept their terms and conditions. So that's why I signed for this contract. So firstly, I didn't like that. I couldn't change anything, but I needed the plan, so I agreed to do it. So that time I signed it for.
Okay, so I already asked you a lot of questions, so this is the end of our meeting. Thank you, my
Thank
friend.
you, Professor. Bye bye. Have a good day.
Have a good day.
Have-